Hello, good evening, everyone. You guys are, hi, how is everyone doing? Good? Good. So welcome, we're gonna get started. Let me
Good
see.
evening. Good evening. Sorry
Good
about that.
evening. Nice to see, can't see everybody. Well, anyhow, is everybody seeing my page? Sharing my screen? Yes, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
You check. Okay, thank you. All right, so welcome. Welcome to, oh, Devonte?
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, are you the coordinator?
Yes, yes. Just give me like 2 minutes. I put my camera on.
I'll let you introduce yourself to the participants. So hi everybody once again. I know I saw you all during the information sessions, and now we're ready to get started. We've hosted a number of information sessions since last season, and we're happy that you're here today. And now the project has a project coordinator, so which is Devonte. I'll let him introduce himself and let you guys know how where we are in the project and how we're
So
going.
sorry, two seconds. Sorry for cutting you. Your audio, for some reason, you sound far away. All of a sudden, it didn't sound like that just now. It sounded fine, but now all of a sudden, I don't know if it's just me. Is Devontae, are you hearing Shasta fine, or does she sound far?
I hear it fine. No issues on my end.
Okay.
Okay, could be me. Sorry, guys. As you were.
All right. Okay. So as I was saying, so Devonte, welcome. You can go ahead and introduce yourself and talk about the project.
All right. Well, thank you. So what's going on, everyone? My name is Devontae. I'm a project coordinator here on this project. So, just a little bit about me. A little bit about me is that I come from a film background. I've been working in film for about 4 years now. Graduated from film productions, and from there I've been working in the industry. Worked on a lot of like Hollywood movies, from animation to VFX to on set. I've kind of experienced a lot of different things, and I've seen a lot. With that, it allowed me to like be able to be blessed with meeting a whole bunch of different people from different places in the world, along with just different, I would say, titles from like directors, producers, like as well as production assistants. Meeting a lot of people's families, meeting a lot of people who just had a dream about working in film and seeing how they work, they hear the story and see how they work their way up. So I've been fortunate to be like in those type of environments. And I'm glad to be on this project just because I feel that me being from Montreal and me experiencing the carnival myself firsthand, I felt like it spoke volumes to me, and I just felt like I was going to be able to bring my knowledge and my experience in film and be able to help you guys out with any questions you guys have, any type of guidance you guys want. As little as it is, there's no stupid questions, and yeah, just even if anyone has any interest in the film industry, from animation through editing through video making, directing, etc. I'm an open book. You can come talk to me whenever. And yeah, I'm just excited to be here. And thank you guys for having me.
Great. Thanks a lot, Devonte. So I'll just get the questions out of the way one time. But for now, so since we're starting the workshops, is that correct? So today is a brief introductory workshop about the history of Montreal Carnival. And what other workshops, if any, do we have planned in the near future? Because I think what it is, the participants are still trying to figure out what their role would be, like how can they get what
Get
area would
involved.
they be getting involved in.
Yeah. So I know for sure we have three workshops in the sense of we have a workshop on directing. We're gonna have a workshop on videography as well. People who kind of want to like pick up a camera and like know how to use the camera. We're gonna have a workshop on animation. With the people who like, if you guys are interested in animating, drawing any types of, and just even knowing how animation works when it comes down to video making and film in general, we're gonna have a workshop on that. I believe we're gonna have also a workshop on interviewing, just as for a documentary, as you guys may know or may not know, it consists of a lot of interviews. That's really what consists of like a documentary consists of. A lot of interviews in person, sometimes over Zoom or whatnot, but more or less just being able to know how to format your questions, and in order to kind of tell the story you want to tell and get the answers you kind of want to get by just asking the right questions. So you guys going to learn how to like kind of figure out what questions to ask in order to kind of prompt the answer you're looking for. And yeah, so those are the ones for sure off the top of my head that I know that we are gonna have. It's just a matter of when and finding out the time that works with you guys. And that's something that we're gonna kind of want to know is, are you guys more available, especially as summer comes? Is it more like weekdays, weekends, daytime or evenings, or whatever kind of works around your schedule? You guys let us know. And just along of like, if you guys, again, any type of interest you guys have in documentary making, filmmaking in general, along, please just let us know, share that with us, because that would allow us to kind of know, okay, push you and guide you into what, especially when it comes to the workshops, what workshops we know will interest you the most based off of your interest going in. So that just at the end of the day, again, there's no shot, there's no stupid questions, no anything. Don't feel shy. Just what you guys are interested in general, and then from there we can kind of guide the workshops to your interest.
Perfect. Thank you very, very much for your answer. So with that, I'd like to start one of our first workshops that we have here, which is the evolution of Montreal Caribbean Carnival. And we're going to be looking at it through the decades. So in 10 years, what was the mood and theme of the Montreal Caribbean scene during these times, and why was it important for us to have a Caribbean parade, and what, or not even a parade, let's say Caribbean representation, and what did it mean to the people that live here in Montreal, that were from the Caribbean, to celebrate their Caribbean culture. We're going to look at some of the highlights that have taken place over the years. And we're going to travel right through to present day time. We're going to look at some of the downfalls, the stumbling blocks, some of the triumphs. And with me, I have a special guest that's going to be helping us to navigate through. So we're just going to continue here. My name is Shiata Lewis-Rouse, and for those who don't know, I am presently the artistic director for Westcan Folk Performing Company, and Westcan has been around in Montreal for over 45 years, promoting Caribbean culture through song, dance, singing, storytelling, stilt walking, you name it. We do workshops and presentation shows and so on, just promoting the Caribbean culture. So this project really is near and dear to us, in terms of passing on the knowledge to the next generation. This is one of our mission statements. So it really answers that calling. And today we have with us Miss Pat Dillon Moore. I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. You have to mute the calls, mute your phones, the other people's phones, because it's coming back to me. I wear two hats on this project, in that in my history as a recent retiree, when I look back of my artistic as well as political activism, I was a band leader of a children's band for Roots Cultural Association, which in the history of competitive mass in Montreal, they are the band that won the most Band of the Year. We are the band that also won the most Band of the Year in the children's category. I was a co-band leader with two other people, and I did this for about 21, 22 years. My second hat, I retired 2 weeks ago from formerly 28 years on staff from the National Film Board of Canada, which we are Canada's public producing entity. Over the years, we produced, I have to shift my language because I really just retired 2 weeks ago. They produce most of Canada's Oscar-winning documentaries, as well as animation, and they do online installations. And so what I bring to this, and you could think of me as a knowledge keeper, the way we're presenting today's look at Montreal Carnival is to give you some of the knowledge. Something like Carnival, there isn't a wrong history or a right history. And by that, I mean, at one point, the numbers up to 50, 60,000 people were in the streets of Montreal. One of the spectators would have a version of the history. Someone who produces a band would have a perspective. A musician who played steel pan will have a perspective. So you can look at, for your upcoming film, the history from many points of view. But we're giving you something macro of the carnival. And as you go into your research phase of the documentary and you start choosing spokespeople or what trajectory the film is going to take, then you have to drill down in the history. So without any further ado, I'll hand it right back over to Shiata. And once again, on this project, or for today at least, I'm a knowledge keeper.
Thank you very much. Is everybody able to hear me okay? Can I keep the camera like this? Thumbs up. Can you hear me? I'm coming through.
You have to unmute them.
Or unmute themselves and answer the question. Anyway, so we're going to be doing an icebreaker quiz. So get your thinking caps on. I would like, how this is going to work is we're going to ask you to put your answers in the chat. Just like Kahoots, you get points for the first person that posts the correct answer. So we expect everyone on this call here today to be able to participate. Don't be shy. The answers are in multiple choice form. So one of them is the right answer, and I'm pretty sure that you have the right answers, right? So go ahead and have at it. So we're going to be doing a quick icebreaker quiz just to get your brains going and thinking about Montreal, thinking about Carnival. After that, we're going to look at a timeline. We're going to look at the timeline through history from the 1950s. Seems like a long ways away, but it's not that far away. Okay. We're going to discuss the future, right? Because we can't look at the past without having you, the youth, be involved and talking and discussing about your plans and hopes for the future of Montreal Caribbean Carnival. And yeah, we'll have a quick question and answer and close the Zoom. So are you guys ready to get started? Thumbs up. Let me see, everybody. If you have your chat bar open. All right, we have one thumbs up. So we have one. Anybody else? All right, cool. Okay, all right, okay. Just should let you know there's no cash prize for the winner, but you get bragging rights, right? So here we go. First question. This is the icebreaker quiz. Beautiful picture. Should have stayed here for a little while. Okay. Which famous street? I have to move this over. Okay. Which famous street in Montreal is known for its shopping and nightlife? Put your answers in the chat. Oh, St. Catherine, Huey. All right. First C. All right. Thank you, Keisha. Thank you, Huey. Good job. You guys are quick with it. All right. So next one. Number 2. This is not working out for me. What is the famous dish originating from Montreal, made with fries, cheese curds, and gravy? Everybody should know this one. Okay. All right. All right. Answers are flying in. Let's see. Hey, Keisha, boots in. Thank you. Oh, got it.
Adrian got it.
Yeah. All right. All right. Okay. Good. Let me see if I can set this up properly before. I think the next question will be on the side. All right. Question number 3. Which country is known for having one of the largest and most famous Caribbean carnivals? Answers coming in. First one. Oh, Huey with Trinidad. All right. Good. If you didn't know that one, I would have to question. Okay, good job. Thank you. All right, last one. Again, I'm telling you, you guys knew these answers. Okay. What is Juve celebration in the Caribbean Carnival? People are thinking. People are thinking. What is the Juve celebration? Westcan, you're not allowed to. Okay, Westcan. I love the photo. We snuck one in there. You see that, Keisha? Thank you very much. All right, so the answer is B. Thank you very, very much, guys, for participating. It's an early morning street party. All right. So we're looking at the Montreal Caribbean Carnival timeline. We have with us, like I said, Miss Pat Dylan Moore, and we're going to talk about the 1950s to now. Really, really quickly, some of the highlights throughout the years, just so that at the end of this, you guys can have an idea of the framework to help guide and build you guys as you go through developing the project.
So there's always been a Caribbean presence here in Montreal. For certain in Canada, the men who fought in the World War from the Commonwealth, many of them, because they fought the war, was allowed to come and live in Canada. But the real large wave of immigration to Canada, and in particular Montreal, started late 50s, around 57, right up to about 74, 75. And this is just thousands of people coming in from all over the Caribbean. The very, very early wave of Caribbean people that came to go to university. That would have been McGill University or Sir George Williams University, which is now called Concordia University today. Yeah, they're touching their 78 and up. A couple of them in their 90s. Now, a true carnival enthusiast, when the time for Trinidad and Tobago Carnival rolls around, which is 3 days before Ash Wednesday, anybody who grew up with Carnival, they start to scratch. And what am I doing here in February? It is freezing. I should be in Trinidad looking to get a costume or playing in a steel band or watching on the sidewalk and eating Trini food, but they're in Montreal. It's February, depending if it's a leap year, it could be March. So those who are in university, what do they do carnival time? Well, we cannot go have a carnival in the streets of Montreal, but we can have a carnival dance. And so McGill University or Sir George Williams, they would have dances during the carnival season. And sometimes they would make their own costumes at home on anything they had. Some will make their, oh boy, I'm coming as a sailor. And they would just be in the dance. I've heard of one dance where they went around and around the McGill Ballroom, which is 4th floor of the William Shatner building now. And that kind of carnival had to hold them until they could truly, truly have the carnival. So that's really 50s and 60s. That's the type of carnival they had. We go to 1967, and I'd like to say up until the real carnival, these attempts at carnivals or placeholders, if you will, they are the precursor to our modern day carnival here, and they are just as important because what carnivals do is it's a display of music, food, and your culture. 1960 Expo 67 was a time just after Trinidad and Tobago's independence. Trinidad and Tobago sent a large contingent of artisans. They were dancers, they were singers of song from both the Indo-Caribbean communities of Trinidad and the Afro-Caribbean communities of Trinidad. And they sent steel pan players. And throughout Expo 67, which many immigrants of a certain age, I would say 60 and up, those who were there, remember, not only Caribbean people, anybody in Montreal who was here for 1967 will tell you Montreal was at its very best during Expo 67. And they would parade around what is now known as Jean Drapeau Island. Back then it was called Man and His World, which is very close to La Ronde. But once again, it really wasn't a true carnival because they had some costumes, but not really costumes. Mm-hmm. When you fast forward up to 1973 for the 50th anniversary of Montreal's oldest Black church, Union United, Winston Roberts, who won a top prize for bodybuilding, who used to train with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Mm-hmm. Schwarzenegger used to come to Montreal and train with him. And because he was a winner, a world sportsman, he had the air of the city of Montreal at the time. And they said, well, to celebrate 50 years of Union United, let us have a carnival. This time, this carnival, 1973, is actually really close to carnival. However, it was more of a parade. You had t-shirt bands, so people from Jamaica would have on their Jamaica t-shirts.
Like a marching parade.
A marching parade. It was a parade, similar, if you will, to the Santa Claus parade, but you know Caribbean people, if you hear live music and if you hear steel pan, you're going to dance. Anywhere you hear loud music, you're going to dance. And for some people to this day, some people say that that was the first carnival. It wasn't until 1974 when Pierre Elliott Trudeau was meeting community in Côte-des-Neiges at the St. Paschal Babylon Church, just down the street from where you are at 6767 Côte-des-Neiges Road. And a little group, a Black community group called the Côte-des-Neiges Development Corporation, led by Leroy Butcher, heard that Trudeau was meeting with community. And they said, well, hey, how they invite the Black community? So Leroy Butcher and some of the members of the organization marched over there and tried to get in. Now, Pierre Elliott Trudeau was a prime minister at the time. There would have been security, but you weren't invited. So they're not letting these Black people into this meeting. And of course, they start to talk loud because you know us Caribbean people, if we get upset, our voices raise. We become ruction by the door. We are passionate. When we get passionate, we get loud. Trudeau comes out and say, hey, what's going on? No. Let them in. Well, Mr. Prime Minister, we care about community. We want better schools for our children too. We want better jobs. We want to get these jobs. And we certainly want to stop having, when we go to rent an apartment, as soon as they see our faces, they don't say the place is rented.
So they're addressing the social issues that plague the English community, because the Black English community So like when they would go to get apartments, they would tell them, oh, it's not available. Once they see them coming to the door, they're like, oh, it's not available anymore. The apartments that they were getting were rat
Substandard.
and they were nasty. So they really wanted change. They wanted to push for change, and they used that opportunity as they had the ear of the prime minister to say, hey, by the way, this is wrong, that's wrong, we need this, we need that. And that was the catalyst to kind of move things forward.
So now Trudeau puts his hand in his pocket, and I researched this with 3-4 people who are alive, and they're quite old. He takes out a business card, and the 3 people told me he pulls out a big business card, and a subsequent meeting was held with the Black community. And in that meeting, after they addressed the social ills at the time, Andy Seabaran says to them, we want to have a carnival. Andy's reason for that is that you had the Sir George Williams riot by this time, and these are things you can research. And the Sir George Williams riot actually was a catalyst for so many social changes, not only the carnival. And the outcome was a large fire that burnt $2 million worth of computer, and some people started to think that Blacks were arsonists. So Andy said, we want a carnival because we want people to see that we're peace-loving people and that we're artists. And lo and behold, Trudeau set up the Black community with Centraide. Leroy Butcher himself had that first carnival, 1974. What is important to note about this, and this is the history that for me changes all the other attempts at carnival, is that Lynn Murray, who was an assistant to the diplomat in Trinidad and Tobago, had the bright idea, why don't we bring Muhammad Ali to Montreal? Because everybody knows Muhammad Ali, and Muhammad Ali is respected. Everybody on the planet knew Muhammad Ali. We'll bring him to explain. He would be our celebrity spokesperson. Somehow she finds his number in the States. He gets on to his people, they negotiate, they say, yes, Muhammad Ali will come. He will come for $20,000. And then he came. And oh my God, excitement. This becomes important because this is 1974. This is like West Can or BCRC calling up Rihanna's person and said, Rihanna, we're launching a film called Montreal Carnival. Would you come and be our celebrity spokesperson? It would be off the hook. Muhammad Ali is walking around Montreal doing press from the moment he is on the tarmac of the airplane, and he does everything. And he is the first person who is sitting in the first car of the 1974 Carnival Parade with then Mayor Jean Drapeau. From there has almost been a carnival every year. There have been a couple of years, like last year, about 3 or 4, where there was no carnival. The 70s, of course, they started King and Queen. 80s, they started having Kitty's Carnival. They started having bands competing against bands. It was really towards the end of the 70s, after Roots, the television show that came on TV, that the real Black pride took hold of everybody around the world. And some of the carnival costume themed bands were based on things like Roots and African slavery, just everything. And pretty much the Montreal Carnival at its heyday, late 70s, was the best carnival outside of Trinidad and Tobago. You'd have 10, 12 buses coming from all over the US. Everybody was coming from Toronto. If you had family living in Winnipeg and they were going to come to visit you, they often chose to come at carnival time. And as I said at the beginning of this presentation, the biggest number up to 50, 60,000 were on the street. The route was to La Fontaine Park. We go into the 80s, pretty much the same. The Black community at the time, very highly structured and organized. We are now getting grants. The 90s.
While everything was going well and we had our annual parade and we're celebrating, it was also riddled with some unfortunate events. Like there was a shooting after the parade in the park. The relationship, I think this even carried into the 90s and 2000s, where we felt a sense of like the police were just rushing us off the street. As soon as the last band passed, they were there with the cleaning crew, the big line of horses, big brigade, getting us off the streets, right? So while all of this was going on, it was still very important for us to still maintain our presence, have this representation, show our culture, display our culture, but at the same time, it was a little bit tumultuous because we still felt like if we weren't getting the same respect in the sense of an organized parade that maybe we should have been getting.
I will say this for those of you, and I hope you have your pens and papers for questions down the end. Carnival does not exist in Montreal in a vacuum. The rise of the Quebec nationalism, so the peace and love that came out of Expo 67 and everybody's loving everybody, as Bill 101 comes in, and French communities start asserting their powers and referendums, and all of these things for sure impacted the carnival. There was a laissez-faire attitude in the 70s. Something as simple as when I was a child growing up, we could just ride our bikes. If you look now in the 90s, for you to ride your bike, you have to have a helmet. So rules and regulations that were not in place around the 70s, around Carnival, by the 90s, good gracious me, you're not allowed to drink in the street, you had to finish earlier, no one should be allowed on the trucks. Yeah. And then we pushed back and said, then how come the Santa Claus parade has all those people on the truck? And so they relaxed that. They had to skirt the truck to the 2000s, where politically and financially, the monies that were around, because the Anglophone Black community has changed, it is tougher and tougher to produce a band because it gets more and more expensive. Politically as well, there were the shooting of police shooting Black young men. That also impacted because now you have demonstrations in the street from the Black community. And so the powers that be, when it came to Carnival, became a little bit more fearful. The shootings, Black violence did not help either. So all these things, when you have to negotiate with the city, impacted. But make no mistake, Toronto grew up, surpassed us as being the best carnival. The one thing that Montreal still has over Caribana, now called Toronto Carnival, is that we are on the streets, whereas Toronto is up on Ontario Place. And that is very similar to Carnival in Trinidad and Tobago.
Mm-hmm. So right now we're looking at Carnival in the
1974 pictures.
Hey, we can't really hear you too much.
Okay, turn the camera. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we're good. Yep.
Okay, so yeah, this group of pictures are images from Carnival in 1974. You see the steel pan and and the costumes and just the size of the crowds. And in other pictures, you'll also see some examples of the crowds, of the people, the spectators and participants. And also now we can't deny what in recent years, also going through the pandemic, dealing with the loss of carnival or not having the carnival last year to present day now, where we have a planned carnival, and now we're looking towards the future, right? So we're just going to take a quick scroll through some of these pictures as we go through memory lane.
So now
visually.
what I'm going to say to you is the one with the steel pans, that pretty much is how steel pans are carried in Trinidad and Tobago. And so from the carnival inception, you will see the metal rod. You'll see there's a man's hand. Can you see I'm pointing to his hand?
Yes,
The
yes.
dancers in the street pull those along the streets of Montreal. There in that picture. That's the way it pretty much is done in Trinidad and Tobago. I want to also, before you scroll, give me a second, sorry. I want someone to try to guess this picture here with the float. You see all the silver balls here, the columns. Can you guess what street that is?
Nope.
That's St. Catherine, and that's looking like it's St. Catherine near Chamonix.
I
And
said Notre Dame.
nope, that's all St. Catherine Street. All right, close to where Le Faubourg is near. You're heading towards Guy at this point. The carnival would have just left Atwater. And this picture here, can you see? Scroll down there. Where is that photo?
It's like near the Olympic Stadium.
Behave. When we ever have a new carnival by
All the way
Olympics
down
out there.
Where
This is passing Alexis Neon.
Oh.
That's the side of Alexis Neon. And so they would turn onto St. Catherine to go down St. Catherine. A little trip down memory lane. Oops. Oh yeah, you have street thing. Once again, on these pictures, 1974, live music on the truck. You will see traditional carnival characters of the devil, masquerader. This sneak peek, once again, the 70s, the original Ultrabacks on the second picture. And for certain, you heard I mention rules and regulations. Just being up on the truck hood like that, as the gentleman is lying on the hood of the truck, that certainly would not happen today.
I just realized you said Altabac.
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 Halter top. Altabac. We're Caribbean. Some more early costumes. These are kings and queens. The gold costume would be a female individual, once again, copying Trinidad and Tobago, where every band must have a king, a queen, and a female and male individual. Note the 70s and the big afro.
So now we're turning it over to you. As the participants, we want to know, what do we do now? Where do we go from here? It's 2024. We want to hear from you in terms of what would you like to see for your carnival, because it belongs to you, it belongs to us. What would you like for the public of Montreal, Quebec, Canada, the world to know and see as our carnival Caribbean expression here in Montreal for 2024 and beyond?
I want you also to think, as much as you are not some of you may or may not be intimately involved, and you might buy a costume and participate in a band. You must remember we're living in a digital time now with social media. In the old days, we would have had to have mailed pictures, auntie such and such, this is me in the band in my costume. Now you have Snapchat, you have, thank you, you're posting Facebook, IG, all these various things. So the question Shiata poses, even as a spectator, these images go around the world, and it becomes a reflection of each of us, if you are thus minded, because it becomes the Repier Sizzy, the 416 versus the 514. And for sure, you know, the dollars that Toronto gets from all three levels of government, the Montreal Carnival never, ever got that. So it's 2024. How, if you had to dream, what does Carnival look like for you? And this dreaming exercise becomes really important, because if you're making a film, you have to have a vision for the film in your head, and visions in your head, to me, denotes dreaming.
So now we're gonna ask you guys to unmute your mics and you can join in the conversation. Let us know what you're thinking.
As well, questions on what you heard and saw so far.
Yeah, so my answer to this question is, well, basically, I feel like Carnival in itself is just a form of expression, right? Because it's like, I feel like we get a lot of like rituals of it, stuff like that, and like the history.
Sorry,
but I think it was,
we're not hearing you very clearly.
wait, I'm actually thinking this.
Maybe you should take it off a speaker.
Okay.
Type your question, if you can, in the chat. We're not hearing you at all.
It's okay. He'll figure it out later.
Hello? We would like to hear that.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So basically, this is Huey Rouse from the West Can account, like from the West Can car. And like I was saying before, I feel like Carnival in itself is like for like, because there's a lot of politics and, well, not politics, but like history, you know, like around Carnival. But I feel like another thing we could focus on is just the form of expression is for the people participating. And then especially like if from the youth perspective. So I think something that we could do is like maybe interview like different youth and stuff like that to see like what their perspective is about Carnival. And then like include that into like into this project.
Okay. Wonderful. So he would like to interview youth and get their perspectives and ideas about Carnival. Does anybody else have anything to add? All right, right now we're looking at a few pictures from our, go back here, from our photo library.
Sorry,
Hello,
can
I
I
add?
would love to hear.
Yes.
Oh,
Sorry, can you guys hear me?
sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Maybe just really quick, I would love to hear, even off the same point Huey was just mentioning, I would love to hear from people who are youth back then, and who obviously would have grown up because it's like 50 years later. But I think if it's possible to get any youth perspectives from back in the day, I think that would be a cool contribution as well.
Nice.
Mhm.
Great.
They're all, anybody who is from 62 years old down, because I am 58, and the first carnival I was about, what, 7? And then there were the bigger kids who were the teenagers over me. Yeah, 60s, 70s, they would have, oh my God, your first crush. That guy who you spent all year looking at in school and carnival day, that's the one time of year you have the nerve to talk to him.
Yo, bro. Yeah, I got home at 5:30 in the morning.
Where you want to add?
Morning already.
Hello?
Hi. You wanted to add?
Sorry, hello?
Oh, yes. Did you want to add?
Yeah, sorry. My name is David. David Anderson. I signed up because I also would like to have some input on the documentary. I think what would be really interesting, I guess the first question is that what are the key elements that you want people to know? In terms like, because when you mention Caribana and Toronto, like what's different between Caribana and Montreal? That's the first question that comes to my mind. And I also do like the point of like talking to different generations, because I think that can also show a different perspective from everyone. What does it mean to them? Does it connect to the culture, and also exploring like how it started? Because I think a lot of people, because then when you show the origin story, it really gives a really detailed picture, and then people can look at it from another perspective as well. So those are the things that come to my mind. If I'm watching a documentary, I want to know the origin of Caribana in Montreal. Who were the founders? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we hope that today you guys are taking notes. There are a lot of names that were.
I think Devante,
Yes.
I would tell you, because there's for some people it's the 1973 start date and the 1974 start date. Could you put in the parking lot Winston Roberts, Leroy Butcher, and then put BCCQ? Because those are key milestone individuals.
Would you just be able to say that the last ones again? What is the 3?
Winston Roberts,
Yeah.
Leroy Butcher.
Yeah.
And the third would be an organization, the BCCQ.
Okay, perfect.
Because we should be able to find pictures of Winston Robert, because he was a medalist. And people will have access to some of that. And I have a picture of Leroy Butcher. And we'll move from there.
I like
Okay,
that.
perfect.
I like what David had just mentioned in terms of, do we want to look at Caribana in Toronto compared to Carnival in Montreal? What are some of the things or hurdles, or like what makes it different, right? Why is it that Toronto's Carnival was able to grow and progress at a rate that Montreal Carnival, in contrary, went pretty much down to the point where we didn't have one last year? What were some of the social factors, organizational factors, political even factors? Is it linguists? Is it a language issue that we're dealing with? Is there a cultural disconnect with lack of appreciation? Have we not contributed as Caribbean people to society in a way that our culture can be honored and valued year after year? These kinds of things, like if that is the way that this documentary should go, then you know we're really it's open. We just want you guys thinking collectively, thinking about how you would want to see this documentary, what you want to represent, and then even furthermore, as the youth, as leaders of the next generation, what you want to see for the upcoming years. I mean, Auntie Pat and I had a conversation a few years, maybe last year or a year ago, and we're like, do people even care? Do people care that we don't have a carnival? Do people want to have a carnival? Like, you know, like we really honestly battled and went back and forth with this question to see if you know, if carnival is worth reviving. And then when we look at pictures like this, where this was what, 2019?
2017.
2017, downtown Montreal. Look at the crowds of people, right? Like ants, as they say. So I think if we had to look at each one and get the perspective from each one of these participants, I think that we can definitely say our Caribbean expression has a place here in Montreal, right? So yeah, I think it's this project is really it's exciting. It's a really great one. And yes, anybody else has anything to add to the conversation before we close up? This picture, you want to explain the picture?
First of all, I want to say rest in peace, Stacy. Stacy was Montreal's first carnival queen. Part of the king and queen tradition is that each band has a king, a queen, and out of the competition that year, she won. She was heavily into tradition and folklore. She was a dancer, like the West Can dancers, all folklore Trinidadian dancer. But as a carnivalist, she would have made this costume by hand. She'd have worked, a couple people would have worked on it with her. If you look at her skirt, the pieces of glass, Stacy was the type of person who would cut up little mirrors from the dollar store and link them together to make almost a chainmail skirt. And she did things like that because they would reflect light when you're competing. So the use of silver would do exactly that, that when lights hit her, she would shine and sparkle. If you will, similarly, you know, the angel on the top of the tree is always bright and shiny so that it could reflect the light. But she taught many of us not only to make costumes, the big ones like this, but the smaller ones, but how to dance it, because you just don't drag something that heavy down the street. There is the art of dancing a mask. And there are 2 or 3 people who would have trained on how to dance mask from her and win. And all that old-fashioned art form is lost, because even in Trinidad, dancing masks is changed because they're bigger and heavier. Something like this wouldn't have wheels on this. She would carry that from Atwater and St. Catherine all the way down to La Fontaine Park. And that's what, a good, what's that, 8 miles? She would carry that 8 miles on her back. The other thing is too, that time is Black Power time, and Black is beautiful. Being able in a North American white city to say that you have a Black queen, and of course, the many people who were spectators, the spectators, white, Black, anybody. I met some people in February who were there like 80, and they came to the exhibition. Le Cali Fiesta, and they'd lose their mind. There was an appreciation in the 70s, but once again, my personal opinion, the rise of the Quebec nationalism has interrupted some of that. There is still great appreciation. The artists and art enthusiasts see us. My personal politic is seeing that many Black people in the road, that Quebec would never want to support something like that, because why would you, right? Because we used to be bigger than Black Lives Matter protests around the world. In Montreal, we were bigger than that in terms of size.
Yeah. So
okay, I just wanted to say that I appreciate this meeting, and I feel like I also appreciate the concept of like sorry, the concept of interviewing people that have experienced carnival and getting their different experiences, like, because perspectives on carnival, because many people have different experiences. And yeah, thank you. I just want to say that.
thank you for sharing. And like you said, the onus of this documentary is to really tell the story. Tell the story, the origin story, which is very powerful in of itself. To speak with some of the people who actually were there, and take them down memory lane, and take the viewers and really captivate them into the power and the joy, and some of the sentiments that were expressed and felt during those times. That's the power of creating a documentary. And yeah, I believe that, you guys are a group of talented, creative individuals that are eager to learn and eager to try new things. I know some of you are meeting or seeing for the first time in this chat, in this Zoom. And I personally, I'm here along for the project to lend my artistic views and guidance to the participants. We'll be doing also some workshops throughout the summer on creating some of the carnival pieces and decorating and looking at some of the carnival arts, just to help you as individuals to gain knowledge and understanding about what it is exactly, and all the work that goes into it. When we look at Stacy's costume, right? It looks so beautiful, but you really have to think of all the hours of work that goes into creating a costume like that, and that is done year after year. There's not one costume that comes back after 2 years, 3 years, you're wearing the same costume. There's no part of that, right? So I want to thank you guys for coming out. Devante, this is your contact information that we're presently showing on the screen. If anyone has any questions, I would like to encourage them to feel free to reach out to you, if that's okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Please reach out to me, guys. Again, there's no dumb questions, no silly questions. If you guys need clarification on anything, just please message me.
I'm going to close by putting on my film hat. A subject matter as big as carnival, don't try to tell the whole story. Their carnival to be told could have 12 films done on it, and you still wouldn't be able to tell the real story. So when you have your treatment or your timeline or your storyboard, think about the things that are going to really grab your audience, decide who the audience is, and move from there. I think you're going to have a lot. I think you're going to learn a lot about our presence in this part of the world and the history.
So we'll wrap up. Thank you all very much for participating. Again, stay tuned. Thank you, Keisha. Stay tuned as we're going to be communicating the upcoming workshops and coordinating the scheduling and so on. So we hope that this was an informative session that kind of gives you an idea of your undertaking, and not to intimidate, but rather to encourage and actually get your mind stimulated and get you thinking. I love this topic, as you can tell, but yeah, that's it for us for today. Thank you very much for being here. Bye.
All right, guys, have a great day. Have a
You
great
too.
weekend.
Take care.
Thank you. Great session.
Bye. Have a good day.
Thank you. Have a good day.